Hey, Shawna, are you excited about our new bucket list item we just added?
I am certainly excited about going bobsledding when you're 85. I'm going to be closer to 95, but I'm still up for it. Today's guest is Lisa Bennion Rasmussen. She currently is the Chief Revenue Officer of the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation, and just a little ball of fire that is excited about how Olympians and regular folk she's providing, the venue is providing opportunities for everybody at those amazing venues. And that's where we're going to be bobsledding. And she's got some great things to share in this episode.
And before we dive in, let's give a shout out to our Girls Talk Help the Aging listener, Miss Jackie Rawls. Thanks for listening. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey. Lisa, we are excited to have you on our podcast.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled and honored to be a part of your podcast. And I can't thank you enough for including me in this amazing experience.
Nice. Well, we had a little off-camera chat about what fuels you in terms of like why you would want to be involved in the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation. And I know there's a little bit of personal story behind that. Would you be willing to share?
Absolutely. I would love to share. I love our mission at the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation is to cultivate champions in sport and life and deliver experiences that really inspire the communities and celebrate our Olympic legacy for generations to come. And part of that, what really fuels me, and I shared this earlier, is that I'm at 5 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so that was almost 50 years ago, and I've been insulin dependent my entire life. And the one thing that really keeps me regulated, and I feel very fortunate that I've led a very healthy and active lifestyle. At a young age, my parents introduced me to sports, and that is staying active and healthy is really what's kept me healthy and kept my type 1 diabetes in control. So I work out actually 7 days a week and sometimes twice a day. And I notice if I don't, I'm not healthy and active, it really affects my overall well-being. Especially as I'm trying to age gracefully too. I notice that it helps my joints. And for me, it's really important to do, high intensity workouts, but also the stretching and the making sure that movement and mobility are key components too, as I'm in my 50s at this point.
Well, kudos to you for being active with type 1 diabetes. Anything going on with us can make it harder. What is it that you really notice more when you are active versus not with your diabetes, with your type 1 diabetes? How does it affect you?
Absolutely. So I monitor my blood sugar. I actually have it's called I have a continuous monitoring device that is attached to me. And so I know where my blood sugar is 24/7. And if I don't work out, I lose energy, I lose drive. I notice that my blood sugar really kind of starts to spike. So for me, it's just literally, it fuels my whole entire world. I start my day with a workout, and sometimes I end it with a workout too. And I know some people might think it's a little bit over the top, but you have to listen to your body. And it's really what works for me and for my body. And, being diagnosed 50 plus years ago, I now know really what works for my body. And it's truly given me longevity. It's given me a total incredible outlook on life. And I actually feel fortunate that I am a type 1 diabetic because I can control it through, staying healthy and active. And you look at so many other diseases that, you aren't able to control. And granted, I'm not saying every type 1 diabetic can control their situation with staying active and healthy, but for me, it's what works. And I feel really lucky that I get to move my body every day.
Yeah, I don't work out twice a day, but I'm thinking like you're using it like medicine. Like
Yes.
it sounds like to me. And so that is, we would never think someone was over the top if they were taking their meds twice a day. But for
Right.
you, that makes sense and that works for you. So kudos to you for figuring out how to use exercise as medicine.
And on that same point, though, I actually don't have to take as much insulin as
Mm.
maybe someone who doesn't, work out with type 1 diabetes because it's helping control my blood sugar and glucose levels.
Well, speaking of working out and exercise as a lifestyle and even using exercise as medicine, getting back to the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation, I mean, the Olympics started there in 2002, and here we are in 2025, and you've kept those facilities going. But can you share a little bit about, we know what is your why for your individual passion, but how important is having a facility like this available to not just like Olympic elite, but to just everyday people?
Absolutely. And that's really kind of what is all about our vision and mission is. So we have three venues and three very distinct communities throughout Utah. And while we celebrate the fact that we have 2/3 of the Olympians that train at our venues, what we love more is that we have something for everyone, regardless of your age, your ability, your socioeconomic circumstance. So we really opened up our venues and we call them community recreation resources. So just to give you an example, for example, at the Utah Olympic Oval, which is headquartered in Kearns, that's where our speed skating venue took place for long track speed skating in the O2 games. And we have two ice sheets there, and we joke that it's a three-ring circus. We have something going on pretty much all hours of the day, starting first thing when we open in the morning, and sometimes till beyond midnight with adult hockey programs. And in addition to our two ice sheets, we actually have a running track that is on the outside of the long track speed skating oval. So we'll have a high school running track meet going on. We'll have the long track, U.S. speed skating team training on the long track sheet, and then we might have a youth hockey program happening on one ice sheet, and then we'll have figure skating kids doing a program on the other ice sheet. So there's literally something for everyone. And that's pretty much the philosophy we use across the board at all three of our venues. So for example, at Soldier Hollow Nordic Center, as I alluded to earlier, we really want to have, it doesn't matter your financial situation, we have a really robust scholarship and healthy communities programs. And so last year, we had over 3,000 youth that we supported through our scholarship and healthy communities programs. And this just gives the opportunity for everybody to come out and experience our venues. And we all know sport, particularly winter sport, can be pretty costly. And so, how can we break down that barrier and provide a pathway for everybody to participate? Another program that I just want to highlight briefly is we work with a 501c3 in Heber, which is where our cross country / biathlon venue is housed, and it's in Midway, Utah. And we partnered with this group who they provide opportunities for youth with special intellectual disabilities and special needs. And so we brought these kids out. We did it for the second year, who learned how to cross country ski, and we had sit skis, and our cross country ski instructors did an incredible job. And just seeing these kids, their faces light up, who had never had that opportunity, and we do that across all three of our venues. So pretty inspiring. And how amazing is it that you can be out there on the course or in the pool doing, jumps at the Utah Olympic Park, and you have right next to you in the next lane, you have an Olympian practicing what they're going to do on snow in the next winter. So places of inspiration are definitely part of our motto.
Wow. Are you very hands-on as the CRO? Do you get to like be in these venues and see these smiling faces, see the Olympians, see the, the young ones, the old ones? Do you have much hands-on, or do you just walk around sometimes to get the vibes?
Absolutely. I am by no means qualified to be an instructor. I'll say that. I love it. I participate in all of the different sports, but I'm very involved, and we actually go around each day. I'm typically in Park City for the most of the week, but we rotate between our venues. So for example, tomorrow I'll be at the Utah Olympic Oval, and I get to meet kids, I get to meet parents, I get to meet the instructors. And so, yes, absolutely, other than not being hands-on teaching them how to do their respective sport. But, we have a pretty robust safety protocol for all of these kids and anyone that are participating. And they go through all our instructors go through a safe sport qualification and making sure that they're, following all the proper protocol. But I'll give you an example. We hold a fundraiser every year, and it's called the Anti-Gala. And we just had our anti-gala on Thursday night at the Utah Olympic Park. And the reason we call it an anti-gala is it is just that. You come, we sell fire pits instead of, tables, and it's very informal. And we have Olympians and Paralympians, but we also feature some of our athletes that are in our youth sport program. So we had, a young child who's been in our speed skating program at the Utah Olympic Oval, and kind of shared his story about he and his mom both, how our programs at the Utah Olympic Oval have really helped this young child thrive, not only, in the field of play, but in life in general.
So for those that don't remember, what happened and how this facility came to be in 2002, and then what's happening in 2034?
Absolutely. So the facilities were built essentially for the 2002 Winter Olympics. And now in 2034, we will host Olympic events at all three of our venues. In addition to, there are many other Olympic venues around the state of Utah, and we all work very close together. The beautiful thing about 2034 is that we actually don't have to build any new venues. And what I also love about the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation and other venues in our venue communities is that we were open before the games, during the games, and we're still running programs at all of our venues. So we don't have to build a new venue for 2034. And our venues in particular, our three, are 4 times busier today than they were during the games in '02. So it's just, you can see what an incredible testament, not only our organization, but we have tremendous support from our community. We have phenomenal support from the state government. We have phenomenal support from, stakeholders across the board. And I think that was also something that helped us get another games for 24, because they see the passion that is ignited throughout Utah for having another Winter Games here.
And how often does that happen, that you get the Olympics again in your state or country?
Yeah, we don't right now. There isn't really a playbook on how often you'll get the games. We're fortunate because we had them in '02, and we'll have them again in 2034. And I'm going to speak a little bit out of turn, but I think there are a lot of us that would say we'd love to have them again after 2034. So we hope they'll come back. If I were a betting person, I would probably go to Vegas and say, yes, I think we'll get them again after 2034. As when, I don't know. You look at LA is the same. They are getting the summer games again in 2028. And same with Paris, just came off the heels of running a phenomenal games last summer. And it was the second time, I think it was 100 years since they had held the games again. So I think I'm not in a position to speak to this, but I think we'll see the games come back at some point.
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know.
If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start, or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you.
And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help, and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
What can other venues learn? Because your facility is groundbreaking in that, you've invested in it for all these years and you're running stellar programs. what could other, facilities, venues learn from you, what you're doing best to meet community needs, to create a sustainable environment? Because these are big facilities.
Right. And I think our challenge is too, is that we're running, when you say sustainable, it's a huge undertaking financially for us to operate and run these venues. We don't make a profit. We are a nonprofit. And so what we try to do is go out into the community and build up these programs and build up the awareness. And as I had said earlier, we are fortunate because we do have support and so many kids in our youth sport programs. So I think too, as you look at, we're not just elite, and I think that's been such a critical component of what we do as the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation is we really try to get out into the community and promote our programs and invite everybody to come and experience. And we're not all going to be Olympians and Paralympians and on the podium every, 8 years, but how can we create an experience so people can kind of touch the whole Olympic movement? And what we've done is not only in our youth sport programs and adult sport programs, we have at all three venues. At the Utah Olympic Park, we're actually the busiest in the summer. And a lot of the winter athletes are training here in the summer. We have a 1,000,000-gallon, it's called the Spence Eccles Olympic Freestyle Pool. And there are a series of jumps. And so if you're familiar with aerial skiers, they actually they do their jumps in the pool before they try them on snow in winter. And so we provide opportunities for kids to train here all year round. But in addition to that, we actually have different public activities at the Utah Olympic Park. So one example is we have an extreme zip line. And so you can come up and you can zip line, and you actually zip line down the fall line of the K90 and the K120, which are Nordic ski jumps. So while I'm never going to be a Nordic ski jumper, how cool is it that I can zip line down the fall line of a K90 and K120 and kind of get an idea of what it is like to ski jump? And same, we have a bobsled track, bobsled luge and skeleton track here at the Utah Olympic Park. In the summer, we also have an alpine slide. So you're riding down the course of an alpine slide, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to drive a bobsled. So we bring those experiences to life for the everyday people as much as we can. We also have a public bobsled session where you can actually go down the bobsled with an official pilot, and it's the official track where Olympic athletes and Paralympic athletes are training here, and they actually use that in the winter. So pretty inspiring.
Wow. Yeah, just creating those experiences, like you said.
Yeah.
Not everyone will be an Olympian, but just for them to be able to experience what it might be a little bit like. Sorry,
Right.
Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say the Paris this past year was like one of my favorites ever. And so I was just wondering maybe what you all have learned. I feel like they did different things this time with marketing. And I also felt like women's sports got more attention this time around. So I was just wondering if there are lessons that y'all are taking into 2034 now that y'all are planning ahead, or you're seeing related to the marketing or the women's sports.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the growth of women's sports, not just in the Olympic and Paralympics, but worldwide, and it's pretty inspiring. I mean, you look at the first, female umpire with MLB, and you look at their head coaches who are female. So very, very inspiring, not just for Olympic athletes, but we have a lot of amazing female athletes that are participating, that will participating in the games in 2034. We have a whole group that actually went over to the games in Paris. And one thing to point out is that in a normal Olympic cycle, the games are awarded 7 years prior to when they actually happen. We were fortunate enough that the IOC, International Olympic Committee, did a dual award when they were announced. So they announced the 2030 games and they announced 2034. So it's great for us because we have a few more years to plan. So certainly all the committees and The 2034 OCOG, which is the organizing committee, has hired a few positions, but a lot of that won't actually happen and take place for a few years. But we have a strong alliance with our 2034 group, and certainly taking away a lot of the learnings from Paris. I mean, to your point, Alli, they just did an incredible job, and seeing the excitement and enthusiasm around the games was just so inspiring. So I'm confident that Utah will deliver. And again, we have such incredible support from our local community. It's just absolutely amazing. And it's contagious, right? I mean, you look at the Olympic and Paralympic movement, and one thing that I will say about sports, and I would say particularly about the Olympics, is it's a way, it doesn't matter your political background, your religious beliefs, your anything, like the Olympics and Paralympics really have a way of uniting the world. And I mean, you looked at when they were in Korea and you had the leader of South Korea, North Korea sitting together at the opening ceremony. And it's pretty amazing to see that at a time when I think we really need that in our country and the world.
What would your comment be in relation to how important sport is for mental health? I mean, you just alluded to how sport is unifying across nations, but on an individual level, how have you seen how sport can impact an individual's mental health?
Absolutely. And we have a partnership with a couple of health organizations here in Utah, which have been amazing. And obviously, mental health is a concern, but it's also an area that we really recognize that sport helps youth. And I'm going to give you a little example. We, a few years ago, started this I mentioned our Healthy Communities, which at the time was called Healthy Kerns program. And it's an area which is very socioeconomically challenged, and they have the highest rate of, I told you, the health statistics that are pretty alarming health concerns. So we did a program, and we met with the local school district, and we invited all fifth and sixth grade kids to come and learn how to skate at the Utah Olympic Oval. And keep in mind, these kids had never been introduced to organized sport, right? It was their first exposure, first time maybe some of them seeing ice or ice skates. And so we were fortunate that we got some incredible some grants through some amazing organizations here in Utah. And so we were able to launch this program back in 2018. And the first year we had 750 kids participate. And this 5-week session, at the end of it, we invited parents, we invited teachers, we invited donors to come and see these kids and how they were thriving. And the local NBC affiliate did a news story on it. And one of the biggest takeaways that one of the teachers said is the biggest takeaway and the most positive experiences that they noticed before our Learn to Skate program, if a kid fell on the playground, other kids would laugh and point and start bullying them. Well, what happened is all these kids came to the Utah Olympic Oval and they were all falling on the ice because they had never been together. So they noticed like kids were helping each other up and they were building each other up and they were cheering them on. And this teacher just said, it's really amazing to see the power of sport and how it translates not only in the field of play, but into everyday life. And we were seeing kids building up their confidence, camaraderie, and friendships that never would have been built had they not had this experience. And that really does translate into everyday life and mental well-being. Now, these kids could go on the playground and someone would fall and they would help each other up. So it's a key component, and that's just a small portion of, mental well-being. But how can we help move the needle with our sport programs and help you feel better about yourself and build your confidence?
Yeah. Wow. What a powerful story. And to be able to be a part of that. What about, aging has its barriers. How is your organization helping with, the older generation to keep them engaged, to keep them active?
No, I mean, it's a great question. And we allude to that we have something for everyone. We have a master's program at the Utah Olympic Park where, masters can come and ski and race at the Utah Olympic Park. At the Utah Olympic Oval, we have adult hockey leagues. So it pretty much, our schedule starts at the Utah Olympic Oval in the morning with the elite team, so US speed skating training, and then as you progress throughout the day and the evening, the programs evolve over the course of the day. But you look at, I mean, our adult hockey league program is, they're skating out there until midnight, and it's competitive, it's getting people excited and active, and plus you're at an Olympic and Paralympic venue competing where, Olympians and Paralympians are training and will compete in 2034. So trying to create those programs where we're welcome and open to anyone, and showing the benefits of, staying active and healthy as you do age.
And one of the things that I know from talking, we actually interviewed your first lady on the Girls Talk Healthy Aging, Miss Abby Cox. And this was at the time when you're just finding out that Utah was going to be chosen. And I don't even remember if we could actually say it on the podcast, or maybe it was very new news. And so I know y'all have support from and buy-in from people all over your state. That's episode 58. If any of y'all want to go back and check out First Lady of Utah, Abby Cox. And we talked about action relieving anxiety. And my question is, and I'm just thinking, even just going and like getting on the ice skates here, knowing that you're where other people have like won gold medals and bronze medals and all this stuff is going on. Like, on the one hand, I'm thinking that might be a little intimidating, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, wow, what a cool opportunity. So can people, like, maybe if we're not even in Utah, how could we go and experience some of your facility?
Well, a couple ways. I would encourage people to look at our website, which is utaholympiclegacy.org. And if you are visiting Utah, our three venues, one is located in Kearns, Utah, which is the Utah Olympic Oval. The second is in Park City, Utah, which is the Utah Olympic Park. And the third is Soldier Hollow Nordic Center, which is located in Midway, Utah. And we are hosting quite a few World Cup events over the course of this next winter. And it's incredible to come and see at the Utah Olympic Oval. We'll have a speed skating World Cup. And then we also have a short track junior world championships event, which open to the public. Most of them are ticketed events, and it's a way that you can experience what's going to happen in the games. And also you may even see some of these athletes, particularly for the junior world championships. These are going to be kids that are competing on their hometown turf in 2034. So in addition to that, we have a Luge World Cup at the Utah Olympic Park this winter. And then a handful of events also at Soldier Hollow, not this winter, but we have upcoming a Biathlon World Cup, Biathlon World Championship. So I would just encourage people to look at our website. All of our event information is detailed there, and anyone can come to these events, and you're there up close and personal, seeing the athletes, hearing the athletes, and just experiencing what it's like to participate in, an event leading up to the games.
Yeah, and sometimes experiencing
our listeners that
inspires people to look at, like, maybe try something themselves.
Absolutely. We've run programs where actually at the Utah Olympic Oval, it being an indoor venue, we have the event happening, but we also in the past have done a little experiences where kids can try to, learn how to skate during the event. And we have a laser biathlon that we take on the road so kids can come try and learn how to do biathlon. I'll give you another example. One of our corporate partners took his kids to a biathlon World Cup that we had out at Soldier Hollow a couple years ago, and he sent me a follow-up note and just said it was so amazing and so inspiring to see, and my kids had never experienced biathlon before, but we got home and they were playing biathlon in the living room. They set up a little target, they had a little slingshot that they were shooting at the target. And so it's like, anytime we can hear those stories, that's really what drives our passion, is that kids are trying it.
And if moms and grandmas out there have kids that are interested, I know I'm in Georgia, so I don't we don't get as much of the winter type sports here in Georgia. But I know surely up where Shawna's at, that's more of a thing. But maybe, the moms and grandmas out there, if you have a granddaughter, daughter that might be interested in learning more about, this would be a great trip to go take them to check out some of these competitions and meet some of these athletes out in Utah.
Absolutely. We would love to have you and have them. And, certainly if we can ignite that fire with any visitor, we're happy to do it. And I have one example. We had a woman who, this was a couple summers ago, but for her 85th birthday, she wanted a bobsled. So she did come up here and she did go down the bobsled with her son and Yeah. So
nice. You're never too young. You're never too old. There's
absolutely
literally something for everyone.
Yes. Yep. And we'll try to do whatever we can to make it a positive experience for you.
Nice. If you had a wish for our listeners, Lisa, what would it be?
Oh, my wish is just to stay healthy and active, and whatever that is for you. I think it's I've seen with my parents, and them staying healthy and active has certainly been an inspiring experience for me personally. And I know it's different to each person, and what may be healthy or active for you might be different for somebody else. But if we can inspire that, that is one thing that I would wish for everybody.
My wish, we all go bobsledding at 85. I'm adding that to my bucket list right now.
Absolutely. Will you let me know if you come out here, and we will make that happen, Alli?
Yeah.
There's a direct flight.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that.
Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, I'm sure there is. Only if Shawna goes with me.
Yeah. I'm going to hold both of you to it.
Alli is averse to the cold, though, so we're going to have to bundle her up.
Well, we can do it in the summer. We run a summer and winter program. So the summer you go from the top of the bobsled, and in the winter, and it's on concrete. In the winter, we actually close the track down, and we get it ready for winter operations in October. And then for the public goes from the women's start. So it's just a couple curves down from the top. But we can host you in the summer, so it's not too cold.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And my wish is that people seek out opportunity to try new things.
Absolutely.
And if they're in Utah, coming to your facility, but you're not the only one. You're running a fantastic organization, as we are here in Calgary. But just for people to seek out opportunity to try and keep moving.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.